From the great halls of their house, there are assembled three who hope to one day be the world's greatest driving heroes. Created from the cosmic legends of the universe comes our team captain, the Vision, Bill Fisher. Their soon-to-be Wonder Woman, Vicky Fisher. Our Captain Marvel and head flight trainee, Jennifer Skripchuk. And our Batman, the master of tools, gadgets, and all things mechanical, our mild-mannered soon-to-be billionaire, Alan Danvers. Their mission, to fight injustice, share what is right and wrong, to get you out of your house and come out racing with them, and serve all mankind. They are the Garage Heroes in Training Team. Dominating with Dawson.
I need me some dominating with Dawson.
You come to the right place.
I have. You know why? Because I've got Ben Dawson.
Oh, so what's
That's
Ben
a
Dawson
fact.
up to?
Oof, dominating his dishes, dominating his laundry, dominating his kid bedtime.
Ben applies his domination to all aspects of his life.
That's right.
He's dominating baby Dawson's.
That's right.
They're dominating me. Let's be clear. Who's getting dominated in this scenario?
Baby Dawson.
Yes, I believe. I believe the big boss is still the big boss. We both know it. So, Mr. Dawson, got a question. I thought this was a good place to ask it because that's kind of the shtick we have. So, There is this concept of being smooth, which you are not a strong proponent of.
Yeah, not in my own life.
Driving wise, and then
In any way, really.
You don't prefer smooth?
what's that? No, he does not.
Oh, okay. All right.
See earlier dominating with Dawson, so we went over this in depth many times. So the question I had though is, what is your thought on the brake pedal or the gas pedal as you're first applying the brake pedal or the gas, or as you're coming off that last little bit? Are you a squeezer or are you a dropper or a smasher?
Yeah, definitely more of an on-off guy. If it's something I can get away with. I mean, I have done so much of my track life in the auto where the throttle is absolutely a switch. I mean, as soon as you can get it, you just mat it. What's going to happen? Except if you don't do it quick enough, you're going to lose more speed. But so yeah, I definitely am from the world of momentum cars where everything's on off switch. And when I drive cars that are more powerful and can't do that, I'm like, I learn very quickly, like, whoops, can't do that much, and I figure out where to modulate. But for me, it's still not a squeeze. I try to be as rapidly progressive with the throttle input as I can. So even if I have to engage the pedal a little bit before I can, get it all the way down, I do it pretty quickly. What about you guys? Do you prefer to kind of ease into it a little bit and then get it going?
I don't know, ladies.
Yeah.
I'm a squeezer.
Are you a squeezer? Well, let's break it down. There's 4 steps, right? On to the gas. Are you a squeezer or put it to the ground?
Straight away, straight to the ground.
Okay. What about you, Miss Jen?
On the straightaway, straight to the ground, but maybe
Okay.
a squeezer on the other part.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. That sounds right to me, I think. What do you think, Ben?
I kind of,
Go
What does
ahead.
the data say, Bill?
The data
you know
says
what?
you're pretty good.
What I kind of do is I just kind of regulate it through the turns
Uh-huh.
as best I can. And then on straightaway, I punch it.
Okay. What
that-
about go ahead. Sorry.
No,
I thought
because
you were
that
done.
was an issue that I had a long time ago, is that everybody's like, just punch it, go, just punch it. It should be to the floor. And I'm like, well, how can you be to the floor when you still have to navigate tight turns, or tight S's or whatever. And it's unfeasible to have it to the floor the whole time. Or does it mean having it to the floor in a certain gear? I don't know.
If you had an instructor in the car with you and they're like, "Hey, Matt, you can go," it may have looked like a daunting situation, but it may have been a situation where there's a line straight through the S. So he sees it straight away where you don't see one. Probably what it was. Unless you had a suicidal instructor, it was likely that it happened, and you're just like, I can't conceive that being right. But maybe they needed something about the course. I don't know. That's typically about most of the input I'm giving people in the car when I'm instructing is, all right, here's where you can get away with putting your foot down. And they're usually not even thinking about it. Like, hit it, you can go. I have a good, your instructor has a good idea as far as, hey, how open your steering wheel is, how much throttle the car will accept, and that sort of thing. And they have a pretty good context. So it's likely that person wasn't trying to kill you or anything. They probably just were seeing it straight away. It wasn't apparent to you.
I just, I need to get an instructor in the car with me. I
wow.
think I'm at that point now.
Yeah, it's all. I mean, I learn something anytime I get in the car with somebody. Whether it's a student or another instructor or another racer, I always learn something. There's always value in riding with somebody if you can. I think.
Yeah, even if you're a passenger.
I mean, yeah. I get a lot from riding with other people who are driving, and I've been doing this a little while.
Okay, so that's the gas application. You guys are, usually flat to the floor, but sometimes squeezers, but that's okay. You want to stay kind of at the limit. So I can see that. I think you should be, let's talk in terms that you guys are familiar. If we're talking about the Miatas, you guys should err more towards the size of just putting it flat to the floor almost always. But in the BMW, you want to have a little bit more of a squeeze in your game because it's got a little more power.
Yep.
Right.
Okay. What about when you're coming off the gas? Do you do it slowly or you just kind of move on over to the brake pedal? Or how do you come off the gas pedal?
I just take it off.
Okay. What about you, Miss Vicky?
I probably, I ease up.
Okay.
I don't, because sometimes it's just a lift when I needed to just lift and not.
Is it like just take your foot off the gas, or is it take your foot off the gas gradually? I guess is the question.
Take my foot off the.
You can do more than one thing.
I think I do both.
Okay.
It again, it all depends on the scenario that I'm in.
Okay. Mr. Dawson, what do you think?
I don't think how you release the throttle matters. I'm pretty sure, like, especially if it's a corner where I am not shifting, so I'm going to use my left foot for braking and my right foot for the throttle. It's just like just one up, one down. Like,
okay.
I don't worry about the throttle release at all. I don't think. I mean, pretty much all you're doing when you're releasing the throttle is you're just trying to cut off the flow of forward drive, right? I mean, you got plenty of forward momentum. You can't stop your forward momentum, but you're just trying at that moment coming off the throttle. You're trying to just limit the drive, unless there's some reason like a big high power car can't do that. But I don't know of it.
I think the biggest thing you'd have to worry about is if you're going to upset the weight balance of the car, which is not going to be typical.
Yeah. I mean, you're already trying to head in that direction of putting the weight on the front and all that stuff.
So as long as you're not. Well, when you're lifting, you're going to be pushing the weight forward. As long as you're not causing too much of an unbalanced car, I think you can come off about as fast as you want. So either way works.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
All right, let's talk brake pedal, ladies. Brake pedal.
Okay.
I'm applying the brake pedal. Do I apply it with a squeeze or do I apply it with a to the floor?
Squeeze.
You like squeeze. They like squeeze, Ben. They uniformly like squeeze. Mr. Dawson.
Well, feels good. The squeeze feels good. It feels reassuring, right?
Is squeeze like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or is squeeze like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
Both of those are too slow.
Yes. So it's how fast you squeeze.
You want to get all of the available braking pressure that you can get as close to the moment as you put your foot on the pedal. So
without
as soon as you put
locking up.
without locking up. So you need to be at the point of your brake lock up. As soon as you put your foot on the pedal, you want to be fully decelerating from that moment. That's the fast way. That's the fast way. The other way is they used to call it like a limo stop in like NASA class. You're like, oh, you're going to do a limo stop where you kind of roll in there and get on the brakes. Threshold braking doesn't mean like you brake and add pressure up to a threshold slowly. Threshold braking means you're braking at the threshold of grip immediately. So that's the idea. Is like you immediately are braking at all the grip you have.
So now I did that at Mid Ohio.
Tight.
And I did it right after the straightaway. And
Good place for it.
yeah, well, no, and I was working on my not lifting exactly.
Mhm.
And when I did that,
you were coming off of one right to the other, right?
right. And when I did that, I felt the back end get super light and then start to sort of lose it. Is that normal? Or did I do something wrong? Like it didn't lock up, but enough to where it wanted to start fishtailing.
Did it start getting fishtail feeling when you applied the brakes or when you came off the throttle?
When I applied the brakes.
Did you have
Because
your wheels
I was
pointed straight?
I was working on my entry braking.
Right.
Braking at the end of the straightaway, not lifting. So it was like the closer I can get to, the late apex going in without turning.
Right.
But then I felt like if it was a sensation that I was not familiar with, and it
Right. Yeah. You're not used to getting a skid in the rear end.
Which car?
right. It was the Miata.
Okay.
And of course I had already, the reason why I was working with it so hard is because I did that double spin right into China Beach. I obviously had done something wrong. Obviously, I probably popped a clutch or something. I don't know, but whatever it was.
I got a question about so still you're talking, we're back to that entry where you were like, I'm running it hard down to the corner, not lifting. I'm going to go straight from swapping gas to brake. And so you said the car started getting squirrely as you applied the brakes, right?
Yeah, because I applied
the brakes. Right. So is this a place where you're braking in a straight line and then beginning your turn, or had you already begun to turn some?
No. It was in a straight line.
Gotcha. Are you able to adjust the brake bias in your car?
No.
I don't even know.
Okay.
No, not that I'm aware of.
What brake pads are in the car?
Ray Bestis?
ST43s, Ray Bestis.
Front and rear?
Both, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'd run a less grippy pad in the rear, but it sounds like typically in a Miata, like I would run Carbotech brakes, like I don't know if these compounds still exist, but XP10 was a grabbier pad that had more braking grip, and I would run that in the front. I would run XP8s in the rear to have a little bit less bias, and the rear was a less grabby compound. So before you go too hard into other corners, you might want to talk to Ray Bestis and find out. ST43 is this level of grip. What's the one that's one or two levels dialed down that I can use in the rear? That'd be something I would go to, because it sounds like you might be, if you're pushing your performance to a level where you're driving all the way up to where you should be braking at the corner, and then you really get on the brakes, and it's not your first day at the racetrack, and you really got on the brakes and had a handling symptom. I would definitely put a softer, a less grabby pad in the rear.
All right. And as we're having this conversation, I just realized why I spun out twice.
Yeah.
It's because I've always done all my work in a straight line. But now, since I'm doing all my work at such a shorter distance, I'm probably matching revs, dropping down so fast, but I'm doing it so quick and not doing it into a turn entry like you guys have been discussing. Like, can I get away with this? Can I not get away with this? Right. And I probably popped the clutch because of such a short distance, spun out. And I think that now that I'm thinking back on it, I think I'm just shortening my time frame when it comes to my footwork and my shifting.
If you're popping the clutch, you're going to spin.
Well, yeah, and that's what I'm thinking, is because that I've shortened my distance to the turn in, which means I had to work faster to get my stuff done in a straight line.
Right.
And by doing that, I probably popped the clutch, because normally I would be extended, so I'd have time to do the shifting and the footwork. But now, since you guys have just been talking like, oh, well, I get away with it in the turns and stuff like that. Well, that's a foreign concept to me, because that's not the way I've been taught. So now
Right.
that I know that there's another option, I probably was doing the other options going, I shouldn't be doing this. I shouldn't be doing this because I risk when actually I should be doing it.
Maybe you should
Yeah,
try the
and-
red
and-
Miata.
The ND.
Mm.
I should kind of backtrack a little bit too about my brake pad compound recommendation by going to something that has less braking torque friction in the rear on a Miata. I want to say I'm not the only crackpot who thought of that. If I thought of it, it's definitely because some smart person on the spec Miata forum did that. I've heard a million people do that. So that's a frequent thing to do. Is if you can't adjust the bias manually in your car with a bias adjuster, you can do your bias just by what compound you're choosing. So if you're locking up the rears more often than you feel like you should and you can't adjust your bias, a different pad compound is something you can try.
So do you think that might have been what happened? Was that my back end was locking up?
That's the next thing I go to. Do you have ABS in that car?
No,
It's a 99.
No, yes.
I'm not sure.
it's a 99.
I think you have
Yeah, I
some.
don't
I
know.
just don't know how much or how good
Yeah.
it is.
So, but yeah, if you're that's the first
Ben's
thing.
gonna
that
have to
was-
drive my car.
Yeah, but I mean, my expert line of questioning led me right to your brake pads. That's the thing I would do next, and then take it back out and see what it does. I think you'll be more comfortable in the car, especially driving it hard, not worried about the rear end coming around.
Okay,
I've
I'll
had-
have
I've
to
had a car before.
experiment with it more to make sure that's what was
Yeah.
happening.
You can
I
do
had a
that
car
at
do
the
that to me
hangar.
at the end of the- Oh yeah,
Yeah, you could just do braking exercises at the hangar.
Okay.
yeah, wear it out.
Yeah.
Well, no, I wasn't reaching the speeds as I was before. I mean, at Mid Ohio.
Yeah, you can still,
I
you can still
can't
make
get
some- you
those
can make
speeds at
something
the
happen.
hangar.
You can make something happen around the corners there, I'm sure. You
No
can
problem.
get to show you what's going to happen.
So what about you, Miss Jen, on your brakes? How are you feeling about your braking, your application?
I feel like I definitely need to work on braking harder
Yes, you're quite nice to
and
your brake pads.
later.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Harder and later is one of my goals for this coming season.
Do you still get people to get in the car with you when you go to DEs?
She had me
When I
almost the whole
can,
week.
Bill got in a couple times with me and actually was very helpful.
Say that again,
and-
Vicky. What?
I know. I in my head I kept hearing, hear that, Vic? Hear that? Hear that, Vic?
the dynamics are different. We all have to understand that.
Mhm.
Because there is no way that I would be able to get in the car with my husband.
Yeah, for several reasons, he doesn't fit in the Miata. That's for sure.
So yeah, definitely the dynamics are different. But Bill was extremely helpful. And yeah, I think there was some improvement.
You did
What
really
does
well.
the data say?
It says you did really well.
Right. So yeah, there was improvement, especially with not lifting. But yeah, with braking, I still have some work to do with that. And I still have a little bit of anxiety with that, applying as much brake as I should be. So yeah, that'll be one of my goals this year.
All right.
I think you guys are both doing well. What about coming off the brakes? Let's finish up with the last of the four. Coming off the brakes. Do you come off the brakes? Do you just come off the brake and get on with what your
Well,
bad
see, I
self
think
wants to do?
That's not I can't definitively answer that because it depends. It depends where I'm at, what I'm doing, what the car's doing. Like there are times where I just come off because the car's it's balanced and it's not a big
Mhm.
deal, and then there's times where you come off a little slower because you just feel like you need to. So it's not a yes or no. I'm sure that there's a time, like you could probably look at the data and say that I do one more than the other, but I can't say that I do one or the other all the time.
I would have to
That
agree
makes
with
sense.
that
Yeah.
Okay. All
because
right.
we're still ironing it out.
Yeah.
All right. Ben, thoughts? I've got a thought, but I'm letting you go first because I'm trying to stay out of the tub.
Well, I'm never as conscious about brake release about how I do it. I usually do it whichever way makes me feel the least scared, I guess. But no, I mean, I think if anything, I'm more likely to just jump off the pedal when I'm ready, because I also use getting off the brakes as the last little bit of jerk the car into the direction I want it to go. I'm so hard on the fronts when I drive, like just jumping off the brakes is part of me just punishing the front tires, just to get it to turn. I think is part of my style. But yeah, since we've been doing this podcast, I've been more thinking about brake release. I'm sure I am more conscious about it on track now, since we've talked about the concept so much for Ross, and this made me be a little bit more conscious of it. But I think my tendency is probably just to dive off of them, whether that's good or bad. I think that's just what my weird driving style is.
I work really hard on just, as I'm going around the track, is trying to keep the car balanced.
Right. I'd say usually when I'm at that point, I'm trying to unbalance the car, just trying to make it turn in. So,
okay, so
I haven't reached that yet.
so here's where I'm not. This is not 100% of the time. Okay, but if you can come off the brake and just you go from whatever braking pressure you were at and just pop right off the brake because your car is stable and you just can get back to the gas, you probably could have came off the brake a little sooner, slower. You shouldn't be able to pop off the brake without upsetting the car, because the car is so stable and safe. It means you're coming off the brake too late. And just something to work on. It's not like drop everything and change everything dramatically, but try to think about, could I came off the brake a little sooner? Could I have come off a little sooner, slower? Because then you get the car that's not quite as unbalanced and keeps everything more level.
Right. And but that was discussion that we were just having. It's I think Ben doesn't really care if his car is level or not. He just likes to throw it around. And I guess that is just something that we need to aspire to. I don't know.
Yeah, there are plenty of great drivers who are way smoother than I am and faster. I do what I can get away with sometimes. And sometimes I'm driving a car that doesn't have a lot of adjustability, or there's not much else I can do. So, sometimes I just have to adjust my driving to make the car do what I want. So if it happens to be snatching it up by the scruff of the neck and throwing it around, I will do that.
Well, I was thinking more about Vicky and Jen when I said, if you can just jump off the brake flat, like if you're threshold braking, if you can jump off the brake and just go to the gas, then you waited too long.
Right, but she's also asking, like, she's kind of asking for context on, like, why hasn't Ben care if the car gets all upset? But that's and if driving just beep, the same way I do,
beep, yeah, because Ben knows he can control the car and not get into trouble he can't get his butt out of. And he relies on that. That's
part of it, right? That's part of the whole deal is I can kind of get around and playing around like that at the kind of crucial points of the apex, because I'm likely, even if I feel like it's kind of extreme, it's still going to be fairly small adjustments of that to make. I guess I don't know, but yeah, there are plenty of people who are better drivers than me that don't take the upset method as far as I do either.
There's so many styles.
Yeah, I guess so, huh?
There's lots of ways to get this done. If it was easy, everybody'd be good at it, and then it wouldn't be fun.
That's right.
All right, I think we've beaten this one into the ground. Thank you, Ben.
All right.
Thank you, ladies.
Ben.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ben.